In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to paint your RV so it looks brand new. So don't wait, smash that subscribe button so you can get all my latest videos on how to work on your own vehicle and save some cash. So the first thing we need to do is sand this primer smooth to get it prepped out for paint. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take a DA orbital sander with some 320 grit sandpaper. You can use something finer like 600 or 1000. It's going to take longer to sand smooth to get ready for paint. But for this purposes, we're going to sand it with 320 and get it ready. Now you can also do this by hand, but a DA is going to be much quicker and easier. Now that we have the primer all sanded smooth with our 320 grit sandpaper, I'm going to evaluate this panel and see where do I want to break it off and end the clear. So right in this valley here, there's a little valley where we want to break it off, and we're going to blend the clear right there. So I'm doing a taping technique where I roll the tape so the clear gets underneath it and it doesn't create a hard edge for that clear to show. Okay, so let me show you how I created this tape. So what we have here is just a piece of tape. I fold over the front edge and then I just run my thumb down the rest of the tape, folding it over as I go. This is a little technique that helps you create this piece of tape that's going to allow clear to blow underneath it without creating a hard clear line, because that is what you want to avoid when you're blending. Okay, so here I'm going to finish off taping off this panel. We're going to lay that tape in that valley, and then we're going to tape off the adjacent panels on the side, on the top, and on below, so there's no overspray that gets on the rest of this vehicle. And here it is all ready to paint. So now we're going to take a gray Scotch-Brite scuff pad. This is an equivalent to 1500 grit sandpaper, and it's going to scratch up around the surface of that primer area so the paint and the clear coat stick properly. So once we get this all sanded properly, we're going to go around all the edges and sand it really well. I'm going to take some prep solvent, some wax and grease, automotive wax and grease remover, and wipe down any residue, any wax that's been left on this paint. We don't want anything that's going to contaminate our paint or clear or cause a reaction when we go to spray it. Once again, I'm wiping down all the white first, and then I'm going to wipe down the primer later. I don't want any residue from the primer getting on that white paint and getting trapped underneath clear coat. Now we're ready to get our first coat of paint on here. I'm going to set up the gun. Once again, I'm going to turn it all the way in the volume. That's the amount of paint that's coming out of the gun. And then we're going to back it back out 1.5 to 2 turns. And then we're going to open up our fan pattern all the way open and keep the pressure at around 25 psi to start. I'm going to use some automotive adhesion promoter on this. So you see me, I'm spraying automotive adhesion promoter all the areas that might peel or might have an issue with adhesion. So I'm going to let the first coat of adhesion promoter dry 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'm going to apply a second coat. Make sure I get all the edges very well, and the blend area right here is where I'm going to blend that clear, and I want to make sure that's covered so the clear sticks properly and I don't have any problem when I'm buffing it out. Now we're going to apply the first coat of paint. I'm getting underneath, and then I'm going to put just a medium coat over it at first to make sure there's no reactions to any contaminants that are on it. Of course, you want to tack rag it off before you spray it. So I'm going to use long, even strokes here, overlapping about 60%, making sure there's one good coat on it, and then we're going to let it dry for 5 to 10 minutes. So the ideal distance to spray from the panel is about 4 to 6 inches, depending on your setup of your gun. You want to continue to do nice, long, even patterns, and you want your spray pattern to be parallel with the panel at all times as much as possible, and this will give you a nice, even application of the paint, and most importantly the clear. So now I'm going to tack this off. I think this is after my second coat. I'm going to make sure everything's clear. There's no imperfections in the paint, no dust or dirt in the paint. If there is, I can take a little sandpaper and sand it out. And we're going to put another coat of paint on this. And I'm probably going to start working my blend. As I've covered the primer, I'm going to start working the paint outward just a little bit for the blend. So now I'm going to put my first coat of clear on. I'm going to do it just like I paint it. I'm going to put a medium coat on first. You don't want to put it on too wet. You could run it very easily. And I'm not going completely out to where I'm going to blend the clear. I'm just going past where I've laid color. So right at the end of where I laid color, I want to go a little bit past that. And then on my final coat, I'll put clear over the blend area, and that'll give me a good area to wash in with some reducer or a blending agent so I can buff it out properly. Okay, this is the final coat of clear going on now. So now I'm putting my final coat of clear in the blend area and washing it in with my reducer or blending agent so the clear adheres to the old clear properly. So now I'm going to wash it in that valley with the blending agent so we have a good place to buff when it's time to buff. And I'm going to wash over all of my blends and it'll be ready to go. Hey, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. It's free to you and it really helps me out. I appreciate each and every one of you watching. Stay tuned for more great how-to videos. We'll see you next time.